Hello and welcome to Engine Adventures off-road review of this 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon Unlimited 4xe. You can see I've got the camera set up here. Chances of that getting knocked off, pretty good, but we'll see what we can do anyway. Of course, this thing is just a regular old Rubicon, so don't expect me to be able to find a trail on my normal test route that will stop it, but it does have the electric motor that you can run all electric mode. So we will do some testing in all electric mode, see what it can do. But first, let's start with the high-speed off-road. Got that slightly tight around the fuel door, so hopefully we don't lose it, but let's go ahead and go. All right, the test hill is extremely wet today. So, well, the test hill's okay, but the high-speed route is the one that is totally soaking wet, huge puddles. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to just run in hybrid mode for this part. We'll switch to electric mode for the low-speed crawling stuff. For this, honestly, it doesn't matter. You're not going to hear a big difference, I don't think, because there's going to be so much water spraying. Hopefully, we don't use, or lose, rather, that rear camera. Forgot about that. There we go. So we're 16 miles an hour, but this 4xe seems to be a little smoother. I'm gonna stop here, get my thoughts. So you can see there's just a couple drips of water coming down on the inside, but the 4xe seems to be a little smoother than the regular Rubicon, well, Eco Diesel that I had. It does weigh more, of course. It's going to have different springs and whatever for it, but anyway, let's see if we can hit 20 miles an hour and hit this puddle. 20. That's terrifying when you can't see. And you can see there more water coming down inside, but and a tiny bit on this side. In the normal rain and stuff, I didn't notice anything. It's just when you're hitting these big puddles, it's coming in. And I'll have to set up and get an outside shot or two. This is kind of crazy. And let's see, we can hit this at 20. So it is definitely smoother, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm close to 25. Much better performance than the regular Rubicon for high-speed stuff, and adding a little fun is having all the puddles here. A few quick tips when you're driving through water: drive through 3 or 4 miles an hour typically, and kind of keep that bow wave in front of you. It'll keep the water out of the engine bay, do a lot less damage to your vehicle, do a lot less damage to the trail. I was trying to get the 20 miles an hour and all that stuff, and just for video purposes, but it really is kind of done to be driving through it as fast as I was. And even this fast, there's a lot of water splashing up, and if it were deep, that could cause problems. It's not really very deep, so I'm not too worried. But anyway, normally don't drive through puddles at more than like 3 or 4 miles an hour. Even like river crossings and that kind of stuff, you don't gun it. You're not flying through it. That's just going to flood your engine, cause all sorts of problems. And that thing pushes a lot of water. You can see it's all still draining off of this thing. It's going to drain off for a little while. Not the best idea, but it makes for good video, I guess. I wouldn't normally do this. I don't do it when I'm out driving on the normal trails, all the off-road trails and stuff like that. Here in electric mode and two-wheel drive only, you can see the brake system applies the brake to the spinning wheel and it's able to climb it fairly easily. And you even hear the electric motor a little bit in there. I managed to temporarily trick the system, and I was able to do the same thing with the sway bar disconnected in two-wheel drive. And it reconnected, I think, halfway through, but it still performed about the same. Pretty much no slippage here in electric mode, four-wheel drive high with the sway bar disconnected. Yes, the ground is a little bit wet, which actually provides more traction than normal, but this is still a very rare occasion where there's no slipping at all. We are in electric mode, four-wheel drive auto, which it says right there, and let's go ahead, get going. And it did, I have traction control on, so you can see it's kicking in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off because I'm wondering if it will do better. So we'll turn it off. And even with it off, it's still doing that. Okay, so now I'm going over to four-wheel drive high, sway bar disconnect. And I'm gonna have to move so it'll lock in. There we go. Or unlock, rather. 4,700 feet altitude. Looking for that one, pitch and roll. So we're 16 degrees. Sway bar disconnected. Traction control's off. It just makes a world of difference. That sway bar disconnect. Ridiculous the amount of articulation this thing has. Oh, I had to fire up the gas engine. Once I fired up the gas engine, we were able to make it up out of that. So just on the electric motor alone, didn't have enough power, but it did have enough to make it the rest of the way up. Cool. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and shift into four-wheel drive low. And it's in, and we'll go ahead. Oh, it just popped out. There we go. Now we're in four-wheel drive low. And we will lock it into first gear and go down the hill and see what it does in electric mode only. Oh, it did fire up the gas engine. Electric mode's flashing. I still have 50% battery. Not sure why it's doing that. Feeder off the brakes. This is the steepest part. Ridiculous crawl ratio. 1 mile an hour at 21 degrees, 22 degrees for a second. 24 there. Anyway, pretty awesome. These Rubicons are just incredibly capable vehicles off the factory showroom floor. Nothing to it. Just rolling down the hill, nobody's business. No foot on the brakes at all. Okay, we'll go ahead, turn around, and go up in four-wheel drive low. And again, I haven't even locked the lockers yet. Okay, let me see if I can get back to electric mode. And it sure is, it's saying electric mode. Really cool setup with the transmission, with the electric motor being between the engine and transmission. Sway bar is disconnected, by the way. But what that means is you get all of the additional gearing from the transmission, from the transfer case, from the axles, helping the electric motor out. So you get a ton of torque to the wheels from the electric motor without having to sacrifice top end speed of the electric motor. Really good design on Jeep's part. Again, stupid capable. The articulation on this thing with the sway bar disconnected just goes. I recommend for high-speed off-roading keeping the sway bar connected, which obviously it will automatically engage once you're over a certain speed anyway, but it actually does provide you more control, and the ride's just as good in newer vehicles. I mean, it depends, but in this case, for the 4xe, the ride's just as good with the sway bar connected, if not a little better than with it disconnected at higher speeds.
Everything is as you would expect under a Rubicon. You can see the rock rails on the side, everything's tucked up nicely and protected with skid plates, and overall it's a very protected off-road vehicle.
So it can drive through pretty deep water as well. Okay, this will go through the deepest part, and I'm a little nervous here. Create a small bow wave. Keep pushing it. Doing just fine.
Overall, the JLU-R 4xe is still a Rubicon at heart. The only thing that's changed is there is an additional electric motor in between the engine and transmission, and also, of course, the battery pack in the rear, underneath the rear seat. Those do add a bit of weight, but they really don't hinder the off-road capability that much. This thing was just as incredible as any other Rubicon I've tested, and I really enjoyed this vehicle overall.
If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post new videos, and be sure to comment down below with any questions or comments you may have. If you didn't like it and you give me a thumbs down, be sure to comment and let me know why. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.